Hi, I'm Mary Straubhaar. Here is my brief life story as a young woman. I was born June 7, 1874, in Niederstocken, Switzerland, to Jacob and Anna Elizabeth Straubhaar. I was the middle child of 7 children. All of us were born in Niederstocken, Switzerland. Niederstocken is in the Bern canton, which lies in the center of Switzerland. The snow-topped Bernese Alps are to the south. My parents always said that Switzerland was the most beautiful place that they had ever seen. I had 3 older sisters. Magdalena was born in 1868, Anna Elizabeth was born in 1870, Rosina was born in 1871, I was born next in 1874. My 3 younger siblings were, my only brother John Jacob was born in 1876, Louise was born next in 1880 and my youngest sister Carolina was born in 1881. I attended school in Switzerland at the age of 5. I made 3 grades. I learned to read and write the German-Swiss language. My mother taught me how to crochet, knit and sew. I could knit my own stockings at the age of 5. My older sisters and mother sewed beautifully, like a machine. We had 2 milk goats, which were kept in a little cellar, behind the house, at night. One time a cloudburst caused the canal, above the house, to overflow its banks. The water ran into the cellar and drowned the goats. This caused a great sadness for our family. We didn't have a baking oven in our home, so we had to buy our bread from a bakery. My parents bought sugar in blocks and rock candy on strings. As children we gathered bags of hazelnuts. In the wintertime we had lively parties sitting about the fireplace cracking and eating the nuts. My Aunt Magdalena was married to John Koons. A missionary named Carl G. Mazer converted them to Mormonism in 1868. The Koons family emigrated to Montpelier in America in 1873, the year before I was born. My parents and sisters were converted as a result of my Aunt Magdalena and Uncle John's example. They wrote us letters of encouragement. We met with the Mormon missionaries and were converted to the gospel of Jesus Christ. On the 19th of February of 1883 my parents and the 4 oldest daughters were secretly baptized members of the church. It was in the evening, in a pond by the Mormon missionaries. The ice on the pond had to be cut so we could be baptized. The water was freezing cold. We were then confirmed members of the church. My father was 45 and my mother was 40 at the time, and of course, I could see the great change in them when their sins were forgiven. At that time people could not worship the Lord as we do now. There were no church services where we lived, they were held in Zwischenfluh, which was over 10 miles away. We held services in our home. We lived 4 miles from Lake Thun. We went there as a family to swim at the beach. Our Aunt Magdalena and Uncle Koons encouraged my parents to come to Zion in America. Soon after we were baptized, my parents decided to emigrate to America. Father sold our home and borrowed $250 from Uncle Koons to pay for the trip. My parents agreed that our family would stay and work for them in America for 1 year to clear this debt. On May 10, 1883, we left our beautiful home in Switzerland to emigrate to America. There were 9 of us, the oldest child was 14 and the youngest was 1 year old. I was 9 years old. We could only bring so much with us. We had 3 wooden trunks, one was packed with food, the other 2 were full of clothing and 2 spinning wheels. We all got seasick crossing the Atlantic on the steamship Nevada. It sank on its next voyage. When we could eat, we ate at a large table with the other passengers. We ate mainly stew, beans and potatoes. The rocking of the ship often spilled the food over the table. After we reached New York, we traveled across country by train to Idaho. At the train there were 3 wagons waiting to take us to Uncle Koons's ranch. A young Zumbrünen boy was in the party greeting us. We had to cross the Bear River without a bridge. The water was so high we had to sit on the trunks to keep from getting wet. In 1887 my father took up a homestead in Geneva, 15 miles east of Montpellier. This was a great hardship for us. There were only 6 families living there. I had to work very hard milking cows and baking bread. We children worked for a neighbor milking 22 cows morning and evening. We had the biggest thrill of our lives in October 1889, when we went to the Logan Temple to be sealed to our parents, in their temple marriage, for time and eternity. We went in a big brand new lumber wagon. It took 2 days for us to get there. We spent the day there and 2 days to get back. I was always proud of my Swiss heritage. I was a yodeler and yodeled with my sisters when we were younger. The next winter was a very hard one with not much hay or feed. Father had many cattle. To save them he had to get corn from the town of Border. Because of the deep snow it took my father a day to get to Border 22 miles away. Hay was very scarce that year. People even took the straw from their straw mattresses to feed their cattle. The snow was so deep you could scarcely see the housetops. The snow laid on the ground until June. My oldest sister Magdalena had married Herman Damisch in 1889. She took ill with typhoid fever in 1890. My parents sent Rosina and I to care for her. Maggie died at the age of 22 on the 4th of February. Rosina got sick with the fever and was sick for 2 months. Louisa and Carolina also got sick with the fever. Louise died April 3rd at the age of 10 and Carolina died June 15th at the age of 9. After this my father moved back to Montpellier and took up a homestead near the cemetery where he and mother spent the rest of their lives. I was 17 at the time. I went to Cokeville to work for Mrs. Stoner in 1891 from December to April. I was soon to begin dating John Albert Zumbrunin from Montpellier, Idaho. His family lived in the same area as my family in Switzerland.